Hello, you're listening to WNHH 103.5 FM, and you'll also be able to listen to us via the New Haven Independent.org and on Facebook La Voz Hispana CT and via www.lavozradiotv.com. This is Norma Rodríguez Reyes, your host in K-Pasa. We have here live on our studio audience, Sean Connolly. Sean Connolly wants to be your governor, and that's why he's here today. He wants you to get to know a little bit more about him so that on November 6th, you can vote for him. Sean Connolly is a bold leader who is currently serving his country as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve. Sean most recently served as state of Connecticut as the commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs. He's an East Hartford native. Sean is a public service, not a career politician, with a demonstrated track record of making state government work for its citizens through partnership and bipartisan consensus. An attorney, Sean received his undergraduate degree from Bryant University and his Juris Doctorate from the Catholic University of America, Columbia School of Law. He's a member of the American Legion's Post 94 in Hebron, in Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 8776 in Hebron. He's also Army Aviation Associate of America, and he also served as an elected member of the National Board of Directors of the Federal Bar Association and is a past president of the Pentagon chapter of the Federal Bar Association. Sean is married to Carol A. Connolly, who's an attorney, and he has two sons, Sean and Brendan, and he rescues puppies, Lucky, and they make their home in Hebron. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Sean Connolly. Thank you so much, Sean, for being here with us.
Thank you, Norma. Great to be here with you. Appreciate you having me here to New Haven.
Yes. So, Sean, tell me, what qualifies you to be governor of the state of Connecticut, and why do you want to be governor?
Great questions. Thank you, Norma. And a question that my father, who is from Ireland, asks me just about every day, Sean, why the heck do you want to do this now? So qualifying me for governor, really I bring something unique, something that the other candidates don't bring, and that's 3 tiers of experience. First is my military experience. You mentioned it. I served on active duty for 7 years in the Army, and I served in the Army Reserve for the past 12 plus years, and I continue to serve today as a lieutenant colonel and having recently graduated from the Army War College with a master's degree in strategic studies. Second is my corporate experience. You know, I served at Pratt & Whitney first as a lawyer and then as the global ethics and compliance officer for Pratt & Whitney, and that's a company actually where my grandfather, also an immigrant from Ireland, worked as a groundskeeper. And then the third is the state executive experience, running a state agency as the senior executive for the Department of Veterans Affairs on a reduced budget, on reduced resources, working with the state legislature, the General Assembly, both sides of the aisle. So bringing those 3 tiers of experience to bear really has given me a unique perspective, and it comes down to leadership, because that's what we need in our next leader. We need a leader who puts service over politics. So that's my background. Why do I want to be governor at this time? Because I think it's a critical time. You know, Carol, my wife, and I moved back to Connecticut, my home state, after I served on active duty to raise our 2 boys. We love Connecticut. Second is the opportunity. I'm a Democrat because I've always believed that our party was the party of opportunity for all, no matter who you are, a fair shot for everyone, no matter who you are. We want the same opportunity for Sean and Brendan, our 2 boys, and all the children and grandchildren here in Connecticut to have the same opportunity that the last 3 generations of my family enjoyed. And then third is I know we can do it. I know that I've called it a crisis, that we're in an economic crisis here in Connecticut, but I know that we can change the narrative with the right long-term plan and with the right collaborative, results-driven leadership. So I'm excited about our future, and I've really gotten to meet many great people all around the state, and I know we can do it going forward.
You know, I'm glad that you were sharing with us as to why it is that you're a Democrat, because I think that's a question that many individuals have to ask themselves when they belong to a specific party. Why? What is it that party has that that really is the reason why you're involved, or you vote, or you believe in that party? Because I myself had to do some soul searching for a little while in terms of, why I was a Democrat. And I really finally came to the conclusion that the reason why I'm a Democrat is because had it not been for the democratic values, okay, I would not be a middle-class businesswoman today. Coming from a very large family of 13, obviously we didn't have the monies, but education and hard work and opportunity, doors being open to you,
Right.
that is definitely what changes your whole life.
Right, and that's my story as well. My father, I mentioned my mother's parents were immigrants from Ireland. They got jobs at Pratt & Whitney ultimately as a groundskeeper in the factory. But my father is an immigrant from Ireland as well. He came 52 years ago last month, and he had the opportunity to come get a job within a couple of days. And within 2 years, he bought and operated his own small landscaping business. Now, it wasn't easy. It was what he did for his career, and it put certainly food on the table and gave my brother and two sisters and I the opportunities that we had. But we had years with that we didn't have health insurance. It was just too expensive, and so we risked it in a way, and we paid cash for doctor visits and those kinds of things. But it's the opportunity that he had to start and operate the business, the opportunity that you had as a small business owner that we need to continue. And as I've traveled the state as commissioner first and now as a candidate, too many people here in Connecticut believe that those opportunities don't exist anymore. And so our economic growth has been too slow, and our population is declining, and people have lost faith in state government. And so we need to turn that tide. And as governor, it's yes about policies and interacting with the legislature, but it's also about being a cheerleader and bringing the people of Connecticut together with a vision of Connecticut launching on an upward trajectory to be that vibrant state once again, a state where Pratt & Whitney startups like Pratt & Whitney can grow to global prominence. We can do it, but we have to really set the plan in place, set the policies and procedures in place. And what does it ultimately come to mean for the great people of Connecticut? More and better paying jobs and better lives and opportunities for them.
Definitely. So we have military, we have corporate, and we have a state executive officer. The Veterans Affairs, you being the commissioner back then. Now, why politics? And what do you plan to do when you become a politician?
I don't know if I want to be called a politician. I prefer leadership and being a leader that puts service over politics. It's an extension of public service. Growing up in East Hartford, I probably thought that at some point I would run for some type of office, but that kind of went away for many years. When I went to college, I went on active duty. I started at a law firm in Washington D.C. and then ultimately started at Pratt & Whitney. My family, my wife Carol and our two boys and I, we were doing well. We had a great life, and then I got the tap on the shoulder. The duty button was pressed. That public service button was pressed on my back, and I had the extraordinary opportunity to lead our Department of Veterans Affairs and serve 200,000 plus veterans around the state. And that really triggered it once again. Veterans actually encouraged me to jump into this race, to bring the collaborative, results-driven style of leadership to the table, to the Capitol. And so it seemed natural to extend it. It was bittersweet to step down because I loved what I was doing so much, but it seemed natural to offer my service to the state in the trying times that we're in. I've called it a crisis. It's solvable, but we need to really jump in and get it done. Not in a partisan manner, not in a pointing fingers and blaming manner, but a really take responsibility for our future manner and really bring people together collaboratively. Democrats, Republicans, business and industry, and labor to set a long-term plan in motion.
Definitely. Now, Sean, as the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, can you give me one instance in which you said to yourself, this is why I do it? Was there a specific story, something that really was like a defining moment for you in this particular job that you had?
At the Department of Veterans Affairs, we had 4 core functions. One of them was our temporary housing facility. It's been at the campus in Rocky Hill since really the 1940s when the campus moved from Darien, Connecticut. And when I arrived, we had veterans that were staying in the temporary housing facility, 10, 20, 30, some even more than 30 years. And I said we can do better. And it wasn't that we had more resources or more budget, but we had to be creative, we had to be innovative and flexible. And so I said we can do better. And so we partnered with nonprofit organizations. We partnered with other state agencies like Mental Health and Addiction Services, Department of Housing, Department of Labor, to bring to bear more resources for our veterans, to help them identify their goals and objectives and help them remove the barriers from achieving them. We also modified and modernized the program fee for veterans who were staying at the temporary housing facility and made it more of an income-based approach. So bringing all those to bear, we reduced the census by about 40% at the campus. And so that was a significant movement forward. It meant more veterans getting back to permanent housing, more veterans getting their educational and fiscal affairs in order. And so for me, that was, we're not done by any means. We've got a long way to go, but it was something we had to do and an improvement we had to make.
Thank you. I just want to remind you that you're listening to K-Pasa, WNHH 103.5. And we have with us here live in our studio audience, Sean Connolly, who wants to be the next governor of the state of Connecticut. Sean, in the business that we're in terms of its opening doors and creating opportunities. And that being said, how can I don't like to call them common citizens, but just the citizens of Connecticut, how can they have a vested interest so that they will stay in Connecticut once they graduate and not go to other places? What do you see as one of your programs to entice people, just the people plus the businesses, to stay here in Connecticut?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. I released my economic plan on the day I declared my candidacy for governor. I launched the exploratory campaign in October, but I declared my candidacy for governor. I'm not exploring anymore on January 9th. And on that same day, I released my economic plan, and it's available on our website at Connolly4CT.com, Connolly, the number 4CT.com. But a couple things on that point, and I did mention earlier that our population is declining, our younger people are leaving. We have to entice them to stay. One, by growing jobs, better paying jobs, more jobs. But two, I have some tax innovation in my economic plan that looks at income tax credits for those who are graduating from colleges and vocational and technical institutions here in Connecticut and who decide to stay. So income tax credits for up to 5 years for those types of folks who are staying here in Connecticut. Second, a first-time home buyer tax credit. And that would be adjusted based on the communities in which you're buying your home. So more economically distressed communities could be eligible for a higher first-time home buyer tax credit. Those are some specifics. On the job front, we have to build, grow, entice more and better paying jobs here in Connecticut through investments in small business, encouraging entrepreneurs to start new businesses here in Connecticut with the support of incubators around the state, more incubators around the state. I know you have some here in New Haven, with growing and scaling up small and medium-sized businesses that already exist here in Connecticut. I've said forget about Amazon. We've got some companies that are already here that we can identify to help them grow. 6,000 technology firms alone, each growing 10 jobs would be 60,000 jobs. We've got to work with our larger employers, not just when they're threatening to leave, but all the time on a continuous basis to build the environment for success for the business, but ultimately for the better paying jobs for the people of Connecticut. Construction and trade jobs. We've got to get our transportation and infrastructure projects out the door and on the street in a more timely way, because we're leaving thousands of jobs on the table when it comes to construction, trades jobs, union jobs. And so I've called for tolls. I've called for a Connecticut Infrastructure Bank to bring in additional funding so that we can get those projects going more frequently, and giving the stability and predictability for businesses to say, hey, look, Connecticut is on a path forward, and we do see some predictability and stability. We are willing to start our business here. We are willing to grow our business here as well. And so all those different types of things going forward. As the governor, the job for me is more than just legislation or policies. It's also about being a cheerleader and really bringing the team together here in Connecticut to talk about all the great things that we have to leverage, from an educational standpoint, from a research institution standpoint, from the people that we have, from the beautiful historic places that we have here in Connecticut. And that's why I've also talked about tourism as another avenue for investment. We're leaving money on the table there when it comes to revenue for our state, because we don't invest enough in promoting the tourism that we have here in Connecticut.
Definitely. Before we talk about tourism, I wanted to talk to you about the education tax credit.
Yes.
I know several years ago, back in the 70s and 80s, when you went to study to be a teacher, and then you did it in the inner cities, in certain distressed neighborhoods, then they would forgive your loans. And it's really amazing when I listen to the students, went to 3 years in college, didn't finish their degree, and they have $110,000 worth of debt. So that they can't even get their transcript to go anyplace else until they finish paying their student loan. Mm-hmm. So, what would you be in favor of some kind of, when you talk about the tax incentive for education, what exactly is it that you would like to promote?
Sure, and I to clarify, what I was talking about before were income tax credits, but you bring up another good point that's also in my economic plan, and that's loan forgiveness. Mm-hmm. But I'm not talking about free college for all. I'm talking about targeted investments for target industries. We have thousands of jobs that are coming down the pike here in Connecticut. You look at it at big manufacturers like Electric Boat, Pratt Whitney, Sikorsky, but also the suppliers as well. I've been on a jobs tour since I launched my economic plan, and I visited incubators like BioCT in Groton, Connecticut. It's a science and technology incubator. I visited smaller suppliers like Habco in Glastonbury, Frazel in Newington. Both have jobs ready to go, so they need the talent to fill those jobs. But we have to do a better job at connecting our Connecticut residents to those jobs. And so I've also visited the Quinebaug Valley Community College. They have an advanced manufacturing program where students within one semester could be making $14 an hour as an intern. Within 2 semesters, they can be making $20+ an hour and ready to go to work. So we've got to focus our loan forgiveness on those who choose an associate's degree, those who choose vocational and technical training certifications, for target industries where we really need to find that talent. I would also say that we also need to look at changing the culture a little bit, that not everybody needs to go to a 4-year college, at least not right away, and spend $200,000. Carol and I, we went on to law school. Of course, I had an Army ROTC scholarship for college, but took loans for law school. We're paying some loans on our law school. So I would just say that we need to change the culture a little bit, in that there are students, young people, who could do some of these associate's degrees or do the vocational and technical certifications and get into a pretty well-paying job with no loans coming out of school. Yeah. And so and having a good life and being ready to buy your house and get on with your life. And then if you decide that you want to continue a degree later, you can do that.
Where's Quinebaug Valley?
Quinebaug Valley Community College is in Danielson, Connecticut.
Okay, Danielson.
But as you know, there are community colleges all around the state, and many of them have programs that really can connect young people with good paying jobs.
So it sounds like you basically have a good plan in terms of the economics. How about the educational component? What are we going to do with our schools?
Absolutely. So I talk about that in my economic plan from the funding perspective. Here in Connecticut, we've had trouble, right, with when it comes to funding our schools, and certain schools not being funded, and our students not being funded to the same extent as other students. And of course, here in Connecticut, we want to make sure that all of our students, no matter where they grow up, in which communities they grow up in which towns and cities all across the state they grow up in. And so having a more comprehensive, a more fair educational funding formula is going to be important. Now, the legislature did pass updates to the ECS formula in October. Some won't go into effect until fiscal year 2019. They going forward, they will consider more a poverty concentration weight in the factor in the formula. They will consider more the English learner weight as they put together that formula. So we should start to see some changes, but we have to keep a really close eye on that, and making sure that, as a state, we're working with our towns and cities to best fund the students of Connecticut all across the state.
Okay. Sean, right now, we have almost all of the positions except for the comptroller, who is seeking re-election. All the other positions for constitutional officers are open. Do you support there being a qualified Latino as a constitutional officer for 2018?
I think that would be terrific. Absolutely. As a leader, I place a high value on diversity, and diversity on many fronts. Diversity from different parts of the state of Connecticut, diversity of backgrounds, men and women, members of all communities across the state of Connecticut. That's the best way where you can have the most success, because you're bringing more ideas to bear, and you're really coming to solutions, or you can come to solutions that way. In a better, more efficient and effective way, where you have success going forward. There's a leader that I like to follow. He's a retired Army general. His name is General Marty Dempsey. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he talks about radical inclusion. And what that means is including everybody from all those different and diverse backgrounds, so that you can, at the end of the day, have the best ideas on the table, and that you can, at the end of the day, implement the most effective programs and positions for across. I like to say we are one Connecticut here in Connecticut, or we must be one Connecticut. There's not going to be a city solution that's going to be effective. There's not going to be a town solution, or a business and industry, or a labor solution. There can only be one Connecticut solution that's going to be effective for our state moving forward together as a state.
Yes. Well, Sean, unfortunately, that's one thing that we cannot control, and that's time. So, would you please, what is it that you would like to say to our audience that are listening right now about you?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Norma, for having me on. It's really amazing to be with you. I would say that, I'm someone who has not run for office before. And so, as someone who has not run for office before, I'm not doing this because it's the next political job that I want, or a line on my resume. I'm not running for governor because I'm looking for a lifetime job in elected office. And I'm not doing it to run this time to better position myself for next time. We talked about it at the top. It's about service for me. And I'm offering myself, my leadership, to elevate service over politics here in Connecticut, so that we can get to the results that all of our Connecticut residents need. So I look forward to meeting many of your listeners throughout the campaign, and thank you once again for having me on.
And then if they want more information on you, where is it that they can go and check?
Absolutely. Our website is Connolly4CT.com. It's Connolly, the number 4CT.com. We have information, of course, available on me. We have information, my full economic plan is available online, and for those who want to help us move forward with contributions, you can do that there too.
Well, folks, I want to thank you so much for being here with us, and I also want to thank you guys for listening. Until next time, this is Norma Rodríguez Reyes, your host in K-Pasa. Health, money, and love, and plenty of time to enjoy it. And may we all live to be 120 years, but in good health. Until next time.
Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada e estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio desde New Haven, Connecticut al mundo.
Fairfield Mitsubishi, la compañía de automóviles que siempre mantiene contentos a sus clientes, te invita a venir y aprovechar todas las ofertas especiales disponibles para autos nuevos y usados. Todo bajo un mismo techo. Venta, servicio y reparaciones. Su crédito no importa. Tenemos financiamiento disponible. Fairfield Mitsubishi, 421 Tunxis Hill Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. Llámanos 203-384-0000. Cementerio Evergreen, un refugio de tranquilidad, una tradición de servicio. No espere hasta el momento más difícil de su vida. Espacios tan bajos como $850. Plan de pago sin intereses disponible. Evergreen Cemetery, 769 LT Grasso Boulevard, New Haven, Connecticut. Para obtener más información, llame al 203-624-5505 o visítenos en www.evergreencem.org.
Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada e estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio desde New Haven, Connecticut al mundo.
Imagina la sonrisa de tus hijos corriendo por el patio con Max. Mientras tú y tu esposo sentados en el jardín, bajo un sol radiante y con tu bebida favorita, planean el próximo paseo familiar.
Ahora deja de imaginar y ponle fecha a tus sueños. Es hora de convertir una casa más del barrio en un verdadero hogar. Llama a Prisma hoy y aprende cómo podría ser dueño de casa. Te ayudamos con préstamos convencionales, de gobierno, con Tax ID. Sí, con Tax ID. Y lo que es mejor, en tu idioma, de la A a la Z. Así de simple. 203-683-0600. 203-683-0600. Prisma Lending Group, tu hipoteca latina. Igualdad de oportunidades en préstamos para vivienda, sujetos de aprobación de crédito. Prisma Lending Group LLC, licenciados con el Departamento de Asuntos Bancarios de Connecticut, NMLS 2250.
Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada e estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio desde New Haven, Connecticut al mundo.